So hi and welcome to a new season of beekeeping. I just thought I'd quickly talk about my Layens hive. Built one last year. I was going to, building another one for this year, mainly to hive off some of my swarms, hopefully. Lost one colony, but still got 5 on the go, so hopefully should be at 10 by the end of this year. Usually a Warray beekeeper, so that's my usual hive of choice. But I found out about the Layens and actually quite liked it for a couple of different reasons. The first thing is it's horizontal. It's basically a big rectangular box, and one of the great things about it is the simplicity in building it. This wood is about £1.50 a metre, and these are about 50 centimetres long, each of these, just a touch over. So there's about £1.50 in each of these, and it makes you basically £6 for all of those. These are slightly shorter, these are your ends, so you've probably got about 4 quid's worth there, so about a tenner. Once you throw everything together, it's about 20 quid a hive to do both the base and the roof, and that's just being generous. So it's really cheap, really easy way to get into beekeeping. When you see the quotes on Reddit where people are like, how much does it cost to get into beekeeping, and £1.5 grand, it's just ridiculous. There's just no way that it costs that much, or has to cost that much anyway. So these are those. The things I like about them is that they have really big frames. So this is a Layens frame. On these ones, these are too small. And the only reason that they're too small is I think it's about 10 centimetres too small at the base. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a biofloor in, which is something that kind of Phil Chandler would talk more about. So I'm going to pop a biofloor on these, and all that will be is it'll just be some pine cones, alder catkins, things like that at the bottom, and then I'm going to put a layer of moss across the top. So there'll be a kind of woody layer with a moss layer on top of that. So hopefully that'll act as a kind of reservoir for things like humidity, possibly heat. I don't know how effective it'll be, but just to kind of give you a kind of visualization of what a kind of Layens hive looks like, just quickly grab some of the things here. So these are your ends, and these are basically a kind of butt joint end. So all that happens is this just goes straight on there. Nothing more complicated than that. There we go. And I'll just kind of assemble it if I can, to give an idea of the kind of area of the hive itself. There we go. Okay, so let's just get that up. Like I say, these are just butt joints, so they're not massively complicated about them. Except trying to get these to stand up. There we go. It isn't going to be square, and these planks did have a bit of a bend in them, but when I come to screw them together, it'll all pull out anyway. Fingers crossed. So that's the kind of dimensional area that you get. Of course, you do need a rebate in here for the frames to fit in. Oh, these are my frames for. These are my long frames for a Warray. These are not my. These are not my frames for this, which in fact I don't think I have any of. No, I don't. I wondered why they looked a different size. Well, there we go. So these are actually, I'm working on a hybrid kind of design between this and a Warray hive, and that's what these are actually for. They're the same depth as I would use for these, but they're not as wide. I did look at them and wonder what they were. Yeah, but I'm actually working on a bit of a hybrid design. So same principle as this. So very deep frames, but to go in a Warray. and it gives the bees lots of potential for Burcombe and making a mess. So we'll see how they do. They'll either get on with it really well, or they'll make a complete mess, and then lead me to tidy that up for them, which is always fun. But yeah, so they're the right depth, but they're not the correct width. I probably do have some frames which are. I get a feeling a lot of my stuff is going to be worry frames. It is. Let's see. That's the frame. That's the frame base for one of these. There we go. Okay. So this is a template that I use for making my frame bases. The frame bases are basically where it attaches there. Kind of fairly self-explanatory. So the frame base is the really thin bit at the bottom there, and that just gives an idea of the frame base there, and how it kind of fits in. As you can see, it's quite it's quite snug. But, accuracy is probably going to be key on this one. I am just going to try and get one of my other frames, because I would like to know how much of a rebate I need. So I'm just going to be one moment. Well, there we go. I was able to do one there. Had a feeling I had some of these frames somewhere. So these are the frames for the Layens hive. You can see how similar it is to the kind of hybrid design that I'm working on, and they slot down there. There really isn't much giving that. If you work to those kind of dimensions, you've really got to make sure you get things right. Okay, there we go. Not much room for error there, and that's how in essence they kind of fit in. This is double depth, so there'll be two of these together, and like I say, I'm working on a biofloor at the bottom as well. They do need a rebate, as you can see, so the frames will sit in a rebate that runs along there and along there as well. And these are the frames. I really do love this this kind of design, because these frames are absolutely huge for overwintering. Just absolutely perfect. I mean, that is a massive amount. If it's doubled up on both sides as well, that's a massive amount of honey for bees to sustain themselves on there. But this is the hive that I'm working on this year, and we'll see how they go. People who have them don't seem to really have any problems with them as such, and they're especially popular in some parts of Europe as well. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to do the rebate, so I'll just get everything out of the way. And these frames it's worth talking about as well. So these frames are completely free, well, more or less. The nails, there's 8 nails per frame, paid for them. I think it was about £3 for a bag, which has lasted me years. And these, they're basically from pallet wood. And all I've done is taken the pallet wood, and I've cut them into 24cm strips using a circular saw, and I forget what it's called now. Not a guide. it'll come to me later anyway. But I've cut them in 24cm strips. Once you've got the 24cm strips, all you then do is turn them onto the side and you cut them again, and it gives you that kind of exact dimension for the frames. You can make them various different lengths, and then you just assemble your frames there. Frames are quite expensive, so when I figured out how to do that, it was something well worth doing. Like I said, I'm going to rebate this first, and that's the most important thing. Would use ear protection, but if I did, I'd be shouting at this point. Now what I have done, so that it can go right up, what my key to do is they don't give you a full metal bridge across there. It makes a lot of sense. If you did, people would break their blades and end up with all kinds of things. So it stops this coming down into a bridge if Makita did put one on. So all it does, it just allows you, the beekeeper, to put in your own bridge. And all I've done is just use a piece of wood for that. Just allows you to run it along your piece of wood that you're working with there. So I'm just going to be one moment, I'm just going to get this all fastened together and then we'll be ready to go. I'll work with these. I'm going to work with these two here. These are the two we were looking at. And a nice thick piece of wood. We'll work with what we got. With the router, it's just a case of working away from me. That runs it against the way that the blade's going. With quite small wood, I do have a fixed router under here as well, and with it being handheld router, it's unlikely to kick back. And with it being quite small wood, once again, it doesn't have a massive propensity for kicking back. What it will do sometimes though is it will try and chew itself out the side, but that can usually be quite well held. But I'm going to go in the middle first, just to get a gauge of everything, and then we'll work from the ends. You should also, of course, use a mask. I didn't do that because I thought that would actually obscure my voice. And the last thing, which is something that I didn't used to do but have had to start doing, is also to wear goggles as well. It's rare, but if something does get in your eye, it's just an absolute nightmare. Let's go over that bit again. It's not quite as stable at this end, unfortunately. Okay, so that's cleaned it out. Practice, of course, to always turn it off when you're finished. And I probably buried it over a load of stuff, but I did have some sandpaper, which I would of course use to clean that out. But I can't find it now, which is always the way. Now all I'm going to do is just do the other one. It's going to be exactly the same principle. Start in the middle to the end, always working against the direction of the blade. it has gone cold in here. The UK at the minute, I don't know what's going on. Really struggling to catch a break. The weather has just been awful. I was talking to somebody the other day where I said we haven't really had a decent day since September, and the only thing they did was correct me by saying that actually that was August and not September. And I just thought that's just appalling when what people are doing is correcting each other with how long the weather's been bad, by lengthening the period of time that it's been awful. Okay, so we'll just work from the middle bit here onwards. Or something there, but let's burn that a little bit. I definitely held it too long. Sometimes that happens. Luckily it'll clean it off. And this is something else I am going to explore this year, not in this hive itself, but one of the things I am going to do. I got myself a burner with some map gas, and what I'm going to do is I am going to scorch some of the insides of my hives. There's the thought that maybe if it's scorched, something like lightning damage, that bees might be attracted to that. So that's something I'm going to explore myself, but not in these hives. These hives are going to be fairly standard, to be honest. As far in as I wanted to with these. I don't really like that, but routers you do have to respect. They do a lot of damage in very little time if you're not careful. Okay, so that's all done there. Just quickly get an idea of depth as well. This is with this kind of hive. This is one of the harder things to get a kind of idea of. So basically, that's your bottom. And this will be attached. Not actually enough room in here for this, but it gives an idea of depth. Now, what I would normally use, and these are 15 centimetre, 15 centimetre, 15 centimetre and 15 centimetre. I would usually use a 1510 and then 1015, and no, I wouldn't. I would use a 1510, 1510 for the others. I would then use a 1015, 1015, and what that does is it alternates. So you end up with big, little, big, little, and then you end up with little, big, big. And when you screw them, you can screw against where you can basically screw the small into the big. It just gives more rigidity. I'm not using that principle on this one at all, so it's not going to be quite as strong as how I would normally do it, but it should be fine nonetheless. I'm just going to quickly clamp this and then I'll give it a bit of rigidity. There we go. Right, so that's clamped now. And and that gives an idea of the kind of depth of the Layens hive. These are my worry ones, of course, and that gives an idea of how much depth you're gonna have on the worry. It also gives me the information that my rebates are not big enough, so I do need to do an extra bit of depth work with them. But this is what I was kind of talking about. Let's use the proper ones so that we've got an idea. So this is what I was talking about. That's how they're going to fit on there. And this area here is going to be the area used for the biofloor, so it's a fair depth of material that we're going to be putting in. It's going to be pine cones. The wood will come up to about there anyway, because we've got a floor to fit in. But there's going to be pine cones go in there, alder cones. They're not pine cones because obviously they don't come from the pine tree or a pine type of tree. I don't know whether they're called alder cones. I don't think so. They're probably just alder dried catkins or something like that. But they're going to fit in there. They'll have a layer of moss on top as well. And like I say, it will just act, because there's quite an area of it, and it will just act as a reservoir for things like humidity and also heat potentially during winter. I'm not too sure how effective it'll be on that score, but humidity definitely. So what I'm going to have to do now, take this all apart, and we're just going to have to get a little bit of extra depth on these. Which isn't too bad, to be honest. Because of the way I'm rebating, the depth is actually done using this. So if I want a bit of extra depth, all I need to do is just pull this out a little bit. Right, okay. And if I want a bit of extra depth, I'll just wheel it there. That should do it. I might not actually need that much. Okay, I'm going to put my hands in there, I'm definitely going to disconnect that. Router blades have a real nasty habit of always stopping exactly where you can't see where the outermost point is. Right, okay, there we go. Right, so if we were to go to there, that would give us an extra bit. Yeah, that'll do. Back at the mains, and we're on. Okay, so I'm just going to run that extra little bit off. So start in the centre again. That's why you don't run again. That's why you don't run it the right. That's why you don't run it along the direction of travel. The worst thing is I know that, still did it. every time you do something stupid in wood, they can get away with it. Is a time that you should be very, very thankful. It doesn't take much for it to, in fact it doesn't take anything for that just to go a little bit differently. And that would have been a slightly different YouTube video. Okay, let's get off at the mains. There we go. So that's done. I do just want to check my butt joint. It's the only thing that concerns me is width now. So I just need one of these. It's hard to be accurate on this one, to be honest. All I want to know now is that I've got enough width to fit this in. As long as width-wise it fits, I don't mind. That is mildly concerning. Okay, I think we need an extra millimetre of that. I think we do an extra millimetre across. In fact, you could just route one out a little bit more and leave the other one, because the width is going to work regardless. And all the width is it's just this thing here. So all you need to do is just undo that and just literally push it up by that, and that should be it. And then all it does is it just pushes against that there. I should see a slight, this will be so slight I'd be surprised if it's even visible, but we'll see. Let's use this. There we go, that's what I should have used from the beginning really. Never mind. You live and learn, or you don't. Does our habit of riding up, but it pushes down as you go along. Okay, let's see if this actually does take anything off. It should be very, very slight if it does. I don't want my frames to be too loose in there though either, that's the thing. It did take something off, but what it's also done, it's also left that. Yeah, that's a bit of a problem, isn't it? It is, because I really need that to be a bit further out. Yeah, that definitely polished off a little bit there. That was good. I'm not going to turn much, so it should be fine. That's words and woodworking, isn't it? Alright, let's get this one done. What I did is I ran it along here because it was further in. It left a little lip right along the very, very far edge of this. What I then did is just move the router slightly further out, and then I just polished that lip off, so that it was straight. There's always a potential actually that what I haven't done is okay. No, it's fine. It's about halfway through the wood, so it looks quite good actually. Every time. Well, not quite every time. The router is not take an electric shock either. Right, there we go. That's done. It was about 1 millimetre that needed to come off, and we've definitely achieved that. At the ends, I think might have a bit more than 1 millimetre actually there. I'm just going to give that another run. Check what's going on at that end. Okay, that seems pretty good. And if you were averse to using it again, of course you could have just sandpapered it down. It'd take a while, but you'd definitely get your millimetre out there. So it's done well. It's a little bit of an indentation on that side there, but the rest of the rebate is actually quite nice. Not as nice as that one though. That one's a lot nicer. But those are your two rebated bits there. They sit up opposite each other. Your frames then sit in there. These sit on top of these, of course. So you've got a double height, and then you've got your butt ends at the end there. For this kind of length, I'm not entirely sure how many frames you need. I did work it out. I can't for the life of me remember how many it was. My guess is that I don't have anywhere near enough of these yet, so I have to get making some more as well. But that is my plan for the year this year, is to have a go at Layens hives and see how the bees take to those. Still sticking in with my worry, and I've also got my kind of experimental worry on the way as well, which is this one. What I'm hoping to do is I'm hoping to have a top box. It's about that deep actually, so it's quite a big one, and just to not go in it whatsoever. So I'm borrowing some principles from the Peroni hive, where it'll just have a kind of bee area that I don't go into. With it being a worry hive, of course, I will have to take it off. I mean, by thinking about how heavy that might be, certainly won't be as heavy as some of my other boxes I've made in the past, but probably still might be able to give me a hernia, you never know. But these is hopefully it will bring some of the principles from all three hives and kind of bring it together. These, I don't know whether I'm going to open these or not, to be honest. They're not too hard to open, and what I would probably do is I would probably lay a piece of mesh with some hessian underneath it or on top of it. I'll probably put the hessian on top, the mesh underneath, plastic mesh underneath, stop the bees from propylizing it to the top, and yeah, use that as a method of stopping them from sticking stuff to the top, but also as a method of being able to manage them as well, so that if you only want to look at a couple of frames at this end, you can leave the rest sealed down, roll it back and just work with that particular end. But that's something we'll do in another video anyway. But that's the beginning of what I'm doing. We'll go through and I'll do the construction as well another day, and put it all together with the actual sidebars and everything. Make a roof, make a base, and we'll have a look at the what it's called now, the biofloor. Don't know how that will work. I've not tried it with anything else, but because of the way the frames were on this one, and the fact that I used 15 and 15 rather than 15 and 10, I just thought it was an absolutely perfect opportunity for that. Thank you very much, Steph.